Hola.
Hey, now.
Hey, welcome back.
Bienvenidos.
What's going on?
Welcome back to NESN.com presents The Spread, NESN.com's football picks video podcast. I am Mike Cole. That is Ricky Doyle. That's Andre Kachaturian. We're back to make our football picks again. You don't know the drill. First of all, what's wrong with you? Like, this is probably the best thing we have going at this point. Not any disrespect to anybody else, but I mean, this is a critically acclaimed video. It's, I mean, sure, the critics are the YouTube commenters underneath who will be sick of our crap by about week 6, but so far, a lot of rave reviews. People are really enjoying this. And what we do is we make picks of football games against the spread. It's pretty easy. Pick the 3 best games, which is a struggle this week because it's not a very good week. No. And then we have been doing bet slips. We're back to locks and upsets this week.
Everybody wanted the locks and upsets back.
Gotta
We're
give
going to
them
give
what
it
they
to them.
The people,
give the people what they want.
Exactly.
Here are the standings.
Yeah,
Look,
I was gonna say before we get into this week, here are the standings from last week. Do you have or this is actually the overall standings. Good week for everybody last week.
Everybody was good. Everyone was at least 500. Ricky Doyle leading the way with 19-12 record. Look at you, Ricky. People are just gonna wait for you to talk. People are just gonna wait for you to talk. They're gonna be like, Mike and Andre don't know anything. Let's just wait for Ricky's picks. Rick's picks. Good job, Ricky.
All right.
I'm dead last though, but I'm gonna bounce back. I like this week.
It's a long
I really
season.
like this week. Yeah.
I tell you what, if we could have quit after a certain point last week, I would have had a really good week.
I was going to say, we all flopped on the Monday night game, and I think you were like undefeated in the early game.
Yeah,
We lost the last 6 games.
You were coming on, you were strong.
Should have wagered
I
some
came
money.
on strong at the end.
And one thing I do want to touch on real quick, the Packers-Falcons game,
Oh.
I still don't regret what I said last
you
week because
don't?
there were a ton of injuries that they were decimated.
This was an issue.
Listen, I was going to sit here and say, oh, Mike, you were wrong, this, that. I'm not that type of person. It was your 30th birthday this week, so I brought you a little something. I brought you a little present, This is the birthday.
You're reversing because you were very pissed off the other
I
day.
got you a nice birthday gift here.
Hey, thank
Look
you.
at this. It's a blueberry muffin.
Thanks.
With a candle because it's your birthday.
Blueberry muffin.
And we're gonna
light
There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Hey, thank you.
Happy birthday, Mike.
I'm going to blow this out, I
You
guess.
got the fire blanket on standby.
Hey!
All right.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Mike.
I still
the
wish
big 3-0. Big 3-0. So don't worry about that Packers Falcons.
Still would have rather the Packers won than that, but thanks. I appreciate that. All right.
The sprinkler system didn't
I was
go
gonna
off,
say.
so we're in the clear. I
If
like
the
it.
fire alarm goes off at any point during this, you'll know why.
And we'll just cautiously proceed to the exit. Don't mind
We'll be
us.
back eventually.
No, we'll still stay here. People got to have their
As
picks.
this place burns around.
Speaking of the people getting their picks, let's get into it because people are probably done sick of us being slappies. We'll start. We'll start Sunday afternoon. This is probably the game of the weekend, which is a weird thing to say, but the Atlanta Falcons 2-0 travel to Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions, who are also 2-0. Falcons at the moment, according to our good friends at OddsShark, favored by 3 points over the Lions. Good game. 2-0 teams here. 2 teams that I think the defenses have been better than people expected. The offenses have been pretty good. And obviously, the Falcons speaks for itself. Ricky, why don't you start it off?
Let me preface this by saying that I'm coming around on the Lions a little bit. I think. I'm taking the Falcons.
It's a good thing I'm not betting on them because I would have lost so much
I feel like the Lions are in some way, they're kind of a poor man's Falcons, which is, I guess, would seem to indicate why I'm taking the Falcons. Good quarterback play, evolving defense, multiple running backs with varying skill sets, some weapons on the outside. But again, like I said, I just think that right now there's still kind of a toned-down version of the Falcons who, offensively, we saw what they're capable of last week. Very balanced offense, too. They strike you as a team that's going to go up top to Julio Jones, whatnot, but I like what they're doing out of the backfield, so I like their offense, defense. Like I said, the loss of Vic Beasley is going to hurt a little bit, but Takk McKinley stud early on in his career. So I think the Falcons, I'm taking that because I think they're the safe pick. Yeah. I mean, the Lions have looked good, but they're beating up on terrible competition, the Cardinals and the Giants. So this is a big week for them. I want to see what they're all about this week. So I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket just yet. I'll take the safe pick. I'll take the Falcons.
I'm going to agree with you, Ricky. I'm going to take the Falcons as well. Everybody's talking about this Lions pass rush that had about 5 sacks last week against Eli Manning and the New York Giants. But I want to see more of that. Can they sustain that throughout the week? Because this is the same team that last year had the second fewest sacks last year. The Lions did. So I don't know if they're going to be able to do that against a better offensive line. The Falcons, again, I said this last week about the Packers. Who's going to cover Julio Jones? There's no one there on the Detroit Lions secondary that's going to cover him. I'm taking the Falcons in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last week what the Giants were able to do on Monday night against that team. It's like, it was impressive, sure, with the 5 sacks, but you're not getting to go up against Eric Flowers again this week, who just looked like, if he had 2 hands in his back pocket, he still wouldn't be able to find his ass. Like, he was terrible. You look at, it's just, that Giants offensive line has done a terrible job of protecting Eli through 2 weeks. That Falcons offensive line clearly much better. It's a big reason for we talk about the Falcons, all the weapons that they have. It really starts with the offensive line, not to get too football-y, but whatever. And just a lot of things broke right for the Giants last week. Like I said, the offensive line is a big thing. Janoris Jenkins didn't play for the Giants. Desmond Trufant played a hell of a game against the Packers. I think he kind of takes away one of those options. You look at that. Detroit blew that game open with a punt return. You can't necessarily count on that week to week. So I think a lot of things went right for the Lions, as it has for the past year. And I'm still at one of these points going to be right, saying this is going to catch up to them. And it's just that they haven't faced a team like this yet. No. They haven't really faced a team like this in 2 years, unless you want to count the Packers, which, again, we just sat here and talked about how many times the Packers have lost to the Falcons. So this is literally the best team the Lions have played in a long time.
One encouraging thing about the Lions defense is that they're actually making some plays this year. They're creating some turnovers. You go back last season, their final 4 games, they didn't have 1 interception or 1 forced fumble. This year they already have 5 takeaways. So
now they're going up against Matt Ryan.
Right, it was against Carson Palmer and Eli
No,
Manning.
I agree. That's why I'm taking the Falcons in this game. But I do think there are certain things trending in their direction that I think that they've evolved since last season. I think this is a team. They're going to contend for a playoff.
Do you think Deion Jones is the most underrated defensive player in the NFL?
Yeah, he's up there.
He's up there.
He absolutely is.
Well, that's what I was watching that game and like Deion Jones is like, I forgot about Deion Jones. I remember talking about him last year in the lead up to the Super Bowl.
He had the play of the Super Bowl before the.
Also, I just want to mention Lions 2-8 last year when giving up 100 yards on the ground. The Falcons rushed for at least 99 yards 13 times last season. So again, that running attack, we didn't even talk about that. That could be
Jared Davis in the concussion protocol this week, the middle linebacker.
Yeah.
So that's
he's got a brain injury.
Brain injuries, yeah. That's what I was seeing. You Google it to check out his injury status. First thing that pops up is a brain injury. That sounds a lot. I mean, that's technically what a concussion is, but it sounds a lot worse when you put it that way.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
It's a brain ailment.
Also, Sunday afternoon in the Music City, that is Nashville, the Seahawks. And again, this is the state of the games this week. This is one of our better games of the weekend. The Seahawks are 3-point road underdogs, one of the few road underdogs. A lot of road favorites this week. Head to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Like I said, Titans 3-point favorites according to OddsShark.
Line shifted on this. When it opened up, it's like the Seahawks were favorites opening up.
So I mean, it's moving all over the place.
Because to tell you where everybody's leaning on this one.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess all the money probably came in on the Titans early and kind of changes the line. I'm just double checking this to make sure we're not totally lying. Yeah, Tennessee's still 3-point favorites. Seattle 1-1. They did not look very impressive last week.
They didn't look impressive.
No, yeah.
The whole season.
I mean, they got back on a winning track, but against a feisty 49ers team, a team that I like more than a lot of people do, but still that's a game you kind of have to blow them out. And the Titans bounced back with a very impressive road win that they needed in the division. Really blew the doors off the Jaguars. Andre, why don't you kick it off with the Titans 3-point favorites here?
Yeah, I like the Titans. I like where the money's going. You look at the Seahawks offensive line. It's well documented how bad they are. Russell Wilson keeps running for his life. Russell Wilson is also not that type of quarterback, in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree on this. I don't think he's the type of quarterback, in my opinion, who is able to mask a team's deficiencies, their own deficiencies. In the past, the Seahawks have been successful because their defense has been amazing, and they've had Marshawn Lynch, and they won the Super Bowl because of those things. And all those things, Marshawn's gone. Their defense is still good. But you look at the Titans' offensive line, they're going to give Marcus Mariota time to throw. And their Titans' elite running attack is going to eat the clock, and I think the Titans win for that reason.
Yeah, it scares me a little bit that everybody is kind of leaning
on
the Titans.
Scares me.
The fact that maybe we're underestimating or putting too much, underestimating the Seahawks, putting too much stock into their struggle so far. But it's impossible to ignore.
You got to go off what you've seen so far.
And it's been bad. It's been downright awful. 159 yards on the ground given up to the 49ers last week. That's obviously with the Titans, their biggest strength is their rushing attack, the offensive line that you mentioned. DeMarco Murray a little banged up, but when you have a Derrick Henry, I don't think that
Derrick Henry's been better.
Yeah.
Delaney Walker's getting rushing
Derrick Henry averaged 5.85 yards per carry through 2 games, third highest in the NFL among running backs with at least 20 carries. So he's efficient, obviously a guy that you can rely on as your bell cow, even if you don't have Murray. This goes without saying, I like Titans. I like Titans in this one as well. And another thing, I mentioned the Lions defense, how they creating more turnovers this year. Titans are doing the same thing. You go back a few years ago and they were, I think it was minus 14 was their turnover differential in 2014. Steady climb upwards, broke even last year. They on the positive side of things this year. So obviously making strides on the defensive side in addition to the weapons that they have on offense.
Yeah, they're maturing on offense and they've added some playmakers. It's
a good team,
especially in that secondary. Yeah, like I said, this looks much more like the team I thought they were going to be, like what they showed week 2 against Jacksonville. The thing about Seattle, you guys kind of already touched on it. It all starts with the offensive line and how that kind of affects the offense. Seattle's tied for 22nd in the NFL in first downs, and they've had the third most third down attempts on offense in the league. That tells me they're not getting the job done on first and second down. You get them into a third down situation, you can kind of dial things up, get after Russell Wilson, kind of force him into tough situations. Dick LeBeau, Titans defensive coordinator, guy who's been around the block a time or two. He's a guy who's going to figure out ways to get after the quarterback, even if they don't have the pass rush that the 49ers or even the Packers had. And again, there's been some issues on that defense for Seattle, too. They haven't been very good against the run, giving up 5.2 yards per carry. I don't know if one of you guys mentioned that. And so the way I see it is it's going to be hotter than hell this weekend in Nashville. I mean, 90 degrees. So I think what the game plan for the Titans has to be come out and just run. Just keep that Seattle defense on the field. We saw week 1, the Packers just dismantled the Seahawks over the course of 60 minutes. They out-possessioned them 40 minutes to 20 minutes. If the Titans can do anything close to that defense, as good as it may be in Seattle, gets tired eventually. It's going to, it wears down, then you take shots over the top, you win the game. So I think the Titans kind of pull away late to get this one, and they come
all signs point towards.
You know what this is going to be, though? Smash mouth football at its finest.
Yeah, you got some good balance.
I tell you what, the Seahawks better hope not, because if anybody's getting their mouth smashed, it's been Russell Wilson the last couple of weeks.
Worth noting, like I said, Murray a little banged up. Corey Davis also dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't know if those things, hamstring's tough. That could catch up with them at some point down the road. I don't think it's this week.
The fact that it's only 3 points is a thing that kind of gives you a little bit of concern. But all right, so third game that we'll do touch on. Really interesting AFC West matchup.
This is a must-win.
Yeah, this is a big game for the Los Angeles Chargers. They are hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs 2-0. Slow start last week, but rebounded and looked really impressive, I think, winning that game going away. I got a little dicey late, but I don't think it was ever really in jeopardy after they kind of surged as the second half started.
Yeah.
So Chiefs 2-0. A lot of people feel this has been the most impressive team so far this season. They're only 3-point favorites going on the road to take on the Chargers. Ricky, why don't you start this one?
Everything says that the Chiefs should win this football game.
I don't know about that.
Here's the thing. A lot of people are picking the Chargers.
Hear me out. 7-0, straight up and against the spread in their last 7 road games. 6 in a row against the Chargers. 11 in a row against divisional opponents, and the Chargers, really going back the last few years, haven't been that good against divisional opponents, particularly at home. I like the desperation of the Chargers, though. I'm leaning Chargers this one. Like I said at the beginning, this is a must-win game.
They've been desperate for like 3 years, though.
I know. I'm hesitant. You'll look at it's the same old song and dance from last year.
Yeah,
we talked about the Falcons and Packers being similar teams this year as opposed to last year. The Chargers are just, that block field goal in week 1 kind of set them back a little bit. Obviously, it was in their heads a little bit, it seemed, at the end of the game last week. But I don't know. I'm going with the desperate team here. Yeah. I think you get Melvin Gordon going early. I think this might be another week where the Eric Berry injury comes up and maybe hurts him. Zach Ertz, we pointed to him last week, had a pretty good week for the Eagles. And I think that the Chiefs, they gave up some, I think 6 sacks last week. So some issues against the pass rush. Chargers can get after it, obviously, with Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, and the like. So I'm going to say that the desperate team pulls this off, but I don't feel great about it. I really don't.
I always love to talk about motivated future Hall of Famers, and the Chargers have 2 of them on their team, and Antonio Gates and Phillip Rivers. And then you talked about the Eric Berry injury. I think Antonio Gates will be a huge factor in this game. Hunter Henry as well. I don't know if he's a future Hall of Famer, though, but first of all, I love when Gates scored a touchdown. The entire team ran out towards him to greet him and congratulate him. That was awesome. Good gesture. But you talk about the Chargers. 11 of their last 13 losses have been decided by 1 score. They keep losing in very close games. So even if they don't win this one, I see them losing by 1 or 2 points. I think they cover. And you talk about the Chiefs' defense. They tend to give up a lot of yards. They allow 5.4 yards per play, which is 22nd in the league. This bodes well for Phillip Rivers. And unlike the Chiefs' previous opponents, the Patriots and the Eagles, the Chargers, you talked about Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, they can bring a pass rush. So I think that'll help the Chargers. And I think they will win this game. That desperation is a huge factor.
Again, like I said, they've been desperate for the last 3 years, and it's really gotten them nowhere. It's a team that's proved that they can't win late. I thought, year over year, it's one of these things that kind of corrects itself. There's a little bit of flukiness to kind of winning late or losing late, but we just talked about a team that continues to pull games out of its keister, and the Lions and the Chargers are kind of just the exact opposite. Right. They find ways to lose games. Sure, maybe they lose by 2 this time around and they cover. But again, you already mentioned the spreads the trends. The trends are the big thing for me here. Again, kind of dicey when you're going back multiple years or whatever, but still, you mentioned the 5-2 last 7 games against the Chargers. They covered the last 5 games on the road. The Chiefs have. The Chiefs have covered the last 5 games within the division. They're 7-9 against the spread in their last 9 games of favorites of 3 or half a point to 3 points. They're 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games as road favorites up to 3 points. Chargers 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games at home. That's just too many for me to ignore. I'm not even going to get into the matchups of it too much because even that's still going to point to my own direction, I think, because the Chiefs are the better football team. It's just, it feels like it should almost be even a little bit higher, maybe a 3.5 to 4 point spread here. So I'll take my chances.
Not to pile on in your favor as somebody who picked the Chargers, but also, is there really any home field advantage whatsoever for the Chargers? It was essentially a Dolphins home game.
It's for the Chiefs. The home field advantage will be for the Chiefs.
They travel 27,000 people or whatever. Chiefs travel. I'm just making an observation.
Yeah, that doesn't mean much for them. It didn't mean much for them.
I will say something that does matter, though. The Chargers have the second best sacks allowed percentage, which will negate the Chiefs' pass rush and give Phillip Rivers time to throw.
Sure.
Interesting with the close game thing. I read this earlier. Phillip Rivers has lost 25 games by 3 points or fewer in his career. Obviously, going back to 2006, according to ESPN.
At a certain point, that becomes the player. When
you're the quarterback, there's a lot of it's tough to pin all that on the quarterback, obviously, but still, it's interesting. It's telling.
It's tough to hide that.
Right.
All right.
This is what everyone's been waiting for.
This is the triumphant return of locks and upsets. Andre, start off.
I don't feel good about it these either.
With a lock. I don't
either.
This is the toughest one to do.
My biggest lock of the week is I don't understand how this is only a 6-point swing, 6-point spread. The Dolphins over the Jets. The Jets they don't have any quarterbacks, and I like the Dolphins defense. They can bring it on.
It's a lot of travel for the Dolphins. That's the only thing I can think of.
But Jay Cutler smiles for the first time in 5 years the other day. Did you see that? He was smiling. I hadn't seen him smile. It's like Garrett Anderson after the Angels won the World Series in 2002. I hadn't seen him smile. I love Jay Cutler. This is a great fit for him. He has so many weapons. And the Jets, they allow 5.4 yards per carry on the ground. And they're going against Jay. And the Dolphins, they recorded just 1 sack in their week 2 win against the Chargers. I expect that to change against the Jets. They'll put the pressure on. They'll run away with it easy.
Injury's a question mark there, though, not to totally shoot you down. Landry and Ajayi missed practice today. Just want to say that.
Lawrence Timmons, who knows what his situation is.
That too, yeah.
But I think the Dolphins still have enough on that front side.
Yeah, they probably do. Ricky?
My lock, I'm taking the Ravens, 4-point favorites over the Jaguars. Game in London, so set your alarms for this one. 9:30. Or don't sleep in. Yeah, stay out late Saturday night because this is probably going to be an absolute dumpster fire.
These teams should stay out late Saturday night.
Ravens 10 takeaways through the first 2 games. That defense looks pretty legit. I still have concerns about their offense, especially losing Marshall Yando, who's one of the best offensive linemen in the game. But it's like the Ravens defense, opposing quarterbacks have a 35 pass rating against them so far through the first 2 games. They get after it. This is going to force Blake Bortles to have to make plays, and guess what he doesn't do? He doesn't make plays.
No,
I just think if the Ravens, even with your offensive issues, I think you can line it up and run the ball. Buck Allen making some plays in the early going. If there's a way to beat the Jaguars defense, which I think is pretty good, but they're particularly good in the back half in the secondary. So I think you can run the ball against them. And
fluky is this team right now. They play the Bengals week 1, the Browns week 2, and now they're playing the.
Listen,
they're going to be a 3-0 team.
This is going to, but it's going to be a textbook. It's going to be a textbook Ravens season where they start off very hot because they're beating up on garbage teams, and then we'll see their true colors down the road, and they start to face teams that can actually stop them. And
a couple injuries and Harbaugh's job.
Exactly, yeah, when they get decimated by injuries. So, not this week though. In London. This game could be played on the moon. I'm still taking the Ravens.
I'm taking this. I use this for my lock on the Hurry Up on one of our other NESN.com shows. I'm taking the Oakland Raiders 3-point favorites over Washington Sunday night. That game's in Washington. You look at the Redskins. A nice win for them last week, going across the country, beating the Rams. The Rams team that was upstart, feeling good about itself. They took advantage of some sloppy play from the Rams. The Rams turned it over twice. They were horrible on third down, but now they have an Oakland team. The Raiders haven't turned the ball over yet. Third best third down team in football. Redskins also banged up. Rob Kelly's injured. He got a rib thing going on. Don't know if he's going to play. Jordan Reed's got a sternum. Josh Norman's shoulder injury. There's a lot of question marks there for going up against a team that I think is probably the second best team in the AFC behind the Patriots. So, and again, Kirk Cousins, a lot of question marks there. I don't know how they can't keep him upright. He's even worse than he's looked. So, again, it just feels like a kind of a trap with the 3 points. But just don't think twice and take the Raiders.
That leads
tough
into
game to pick.
That leads into my upset.
The upset picks,
but really, I should say that there's not a lot of options for upset picks this week. A lot of close spreads, a lot of just whatever
it's tough
games.
We could pick upsets like in terms of picking underdogs to cover because there's plenty of opportunities for that. But when you have this many road favorites,
and to go with your this is similar to the Chiefs situation where everything points to the Raiders seemingly winning this game. You look at even the trends. Raiders 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 trips to the East Coast, which kind of negates that whole the storyline, the narrative that they can't travel well. Redskins notoriously suck in prime time. 3-11 straight up and against spread in the last 14 games in prime time.
42-17 against the Packers, right?
That said,
last year.
It's my birthday week.
I'm taking the Redskins
Sorry.
as my upset, just based on I think that Raiders defense sometimes can be vulnerable. I think there's gonna be a lot of points scored in this game. Maybe Chris Thompson breaks out a big play or two. I think the over/under was set at 54. It's in the mid-50s somewhere. So I think there's a lot of points. Maybe they squeak one out, catch the Raiders looking ahead to the Broncos next week.
I can find reasons for both of those teams to win.
Also, the Redskins looked a lot better offensively last week, and they have played 2 pretty legit defenses so far in the Eagles and Rams. I think
Raiders give up 30 yards too.
I think they'll be able to put points on the board. And the Jets moved the ball against the Raiders.
Raiders give up
even though they got blown out, they moved the ball a little bit, which I don't think anybody saw that happening in any game this year.
Bend but don't break.
My upset is the Arizona Cardinals over the Dallas Cowboys.
That was actually going to be
Monday
mine
Night Football.
I saw you had it.
I think it's going to be very similar to the Denver game. You have the Cardinals. They only allow 2.8 yards per carry. I think they're going to bottle up Ezekiel Elliott, and I don't know if his head's in the game just because of all this off-field stuff going around Elliott. And you look at the Cardinals secondary, it's probably their biggest strength, and they'll be able to shut down Dez Bryant. And after Dez Bryant, I'm sorry, the Cowboys don't really have much after that. And I've already talked, every single episode, I've talked about how bad the Cowboys defense is, and I think they'll continue to be bad. They're either suspended or injured. It's just not. It's a dumpster fire there. 5-11 season.
And the thing is, Dez Bryant, great against mediocre corners. When he has to go up against an elite corner, what was last week? We had like 16 targets and like 7 catches or something like that. So
it was not good.
Not great. No. For my upset, kind of took the easy way out. In this game, actually, the line's kind of. I think it's down to a pick now. So whatever. Call me a dink.
It's your birthday. It's your birthday.
Yeah, exactly. I took the Indianapolis Colts as 1.5-point favorites over the Cleveland Browns. Jacoby Brissett actually looked pretty good last week, I thought. He was 1 of 10, I think it was, when he was pressured. I don't think Cleveland gets the same kind of pressure this week against them, but that's a scary thing to say given that Colts offensive line. Cleveland's been real sloppy with the ball, turned it over 6 times. I think they kind of give Indy a couple short fields. And again, this is a Browns team that hasn't been a road favorite since 2014, so I'm really just picking against them for that reason.
Is it me or is the Andrew Luck injury, was that a very underrated storyline throughout the offseason?
Yeah.
The magnitude of it.
He was.
All of a sudden he's missing like an entire half of the season.
If you paid attention to it, it shouldn't be surprising that he's not, because like he didn't practice.
No, it makes sense.
No, I know, but like it wasn't.
More
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's because like no kidding, he's out through October. Like he still can't like lift his arm.
It was
above.
getting later and later in the offseason. It's like he's not even like he's not doing.
He's not
anything.
on the field. You have to be on the football field for you to practice playing football.
I just feel like that should have got a lot more attention. It did.
Who's going to be the quarterback for the Browns? They took out Kaiser and they brought in.
Kaiser will be fine.
The Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
And migraines.
Kevin Hogan.
Kevin Hogan. This guy.
Chris Hogan.
So wait, so we're up, or was that Stars? That Browns.
Yeah, it was Stars.
Stars.
Still at one.
Sucks. Oh,
Still at
bummer.
one.
All right, show and tell. We'll get out of here. So, Andre,
all right, I'm gonna step out here for a second. Bring on some
off screen.
Brought the entire.
Bring out the lumber.
baseball
What's
bat.
the drop on that?
And this is a nice Bauer hockey stick, the Trevor Linden hockey stick. Why do I bring these things? Why? Because the MLB postseason starts in October, and hockey season starts also in October. Guess what? I'm going to give the NFL until October to get their crap together, because let me tell you something. What they've been putting out so far has been horrible. I know I criticized you.
I was gonna say this sounds very familiar.
But have you seen the product this year?
Yeah.
You have teams scoring their first touchdown of the year in the 8th quarter that they've been playing in, and some people call them the favorites in the NFC. The Seattle Seahawks, come on! Takes Russell Wilson 8 quarters to get a touchdown? Cam Newton, what the hell's wrong with you? You beat the Bills without scoring a touchdown? What is this? These are Super Bowl quarterbacks. Yeah. Joe Flacco, another Super Bowl quarterback. He's playing these garbage teams, and then he's 2-0. I'm sick of it. Baseball players can be great. Hockey's a great sport. Vegas Golden Knights, I'm sold on them.
There's only one October.
There hasn't been really any good finishes. Like, there's been a couple, but big plays even.
It's early, but it's been bad.
Yeah. All right, speaking of bad, I'm pulling up the old crunch bar. And this is for the offensive line play in particular. You talk about the bad quarterback play. There's been some garbage offensive lines, which has led to a lot of this noise, a lot of crunching of the quarterback throughout the league. And I think it's one of these things where it's kind of a bigger picture issue here, because as teams spend all this money to lock up their franchise quarterbacks, the likes of Matthew Stafford and whatnot, his line's been pretty good, but as more teams do this, you got to compensate somewhere. Seattle, for instance, not a lot of money going into that offensive line because they chose to give money to the quarterback and also keep that good defense of theirs. What happens now? It's the quarterback's getting crunched all over the place. So this is going to be weird from a team building standpoint moving forward to see how much money teams want to invest in their offensive line. They're paying their quarterback a lot of money and also want to have a lights out defense. But overall, just
piece of that out.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can. But basically, I just have not been impressed with the offensive line work so far. By several teams, it's hurting. The line, the Giants, Seahawks,
It's bad.
Make it a clean sweep, because I got these disinfecting wipes for the New York Giants. Clean it up! The New York Giants offense is terrible, and really it just speaks to the same thing. You want to talk about Super Bowl quarterbacks who haven't done anything on offense. Eli Manning, they haven't scored 20 points since before Thanksgiving of last year, I think it was. It was November. I don't know.
7th straight.
I can't even remember that. I don't even remember what I was doing that time of year. Like, they haven't scored 20 points since then. Like I mentioned, the offensive line is ready to get him killed, get him crunched, if you will. Brandon Marshall, earth to Brandon Marshall, you're out there. You got the linebacker for the Broncos taking shots at you because you got the same name and you're doing diddly squat out there. They don't have a rushing attack. Go figure. And you got Ben McAdoo, or whatever the hell his name is, with his slick back hair.
Wearing calling out his
wearing his Jordans, wearing his poofy pants, calling out Eli Manning, who's a 2-time winning Super Bowl quarterback, because you can't get the play in on time, and you get a delay of game penalty when you're trying to go for it on 4th and 2 from the goal, or from the 2, which was the wrong call to begin with. They are a mess. It's a mess down there.
The worst part about all that is,
you did. Yeah, that's it. So clean it up. Don't get them to win the
I still believe in them.
Go to the Super Bowl.
The Chargers going pretty
They're gonna
far,
get.
too.
They're gonna get destroyed this week too against the Eagles. I think the Eagles win that game by 30.
I got the Giants.
Mike, you want to throw this back?
No, I'm good. Thanks, dude. I got all right, that's it for the spread.
Desserts galore over
Football Picks podcast. We're gonna clean our workspace, put out the fires, and go have a little dessert. Thanks for joining us as always. Thanks for the positive feedback, maybe even some negative feedback. It's all well appreciated. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week. Oh, and by the way, make sure to go to NESN.com/NFL Thursday morning or any point really during the weekend for our full picks for all 16 games. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.